He was very ill after that interview with his mother, which we had not foreseen, said Alexey Alexandrovich. Indeed, we feared for his life. But with rational treatment, and sea bathing in the summer, he regained his strength, and now, by the doctor's advice, I have let him go to school. And certainly the companionship of school has had a good effect on him, and he is perfectly well, and making good progress. What a fine fellow he's grown. He's not Seryosha now, but quite full-fledged Sergei Alexeyevich, said Stepan Arkadyevich, smiling, as he looked at the handsome, broad-shouldered lad in blue coat and long trousers, who walked in alertly and confidently. The boy looked healthy and good-humored. He bowed to his uncle as to a stranger, but recognizing him, he blushed and turned hurriedly away from him, as though offended and irritated at something. The boy went up to his father and handed him a note of the marks he had gained in school. "Well, that's very fair," said his father, "you can go." "He's thinner and taller, and has grown out of being a child into a boy, I like that," said Stepan Arkadyevich. "Do you remember me?" The boy looked back quickly at his uncle. "Yes, mon oncle, he answered, glancing at his father, and again he looked downcast. His uncle called him to him, and took his hand. "Well, and how are you getting on?" he said, wanting to talk to him, and not knowing what to say. The boy, blushing and making no answer, cautiously drew his hand away. As soon as Stepan Arkadyevich let go his hand, he glanced doubtfully at his father, and like a bird set free, he darted out of the room. A year had passed since the last time Seryosha had seen his mother. Since then he had heard nothing more of her. And in the course of that year he had gone to school, and made friends among his schoolfellows. The dreams and memories of his mother, which had made him ill after seeing her, did not occupy his thoughts now. When they came back to him, he studiously drove them away, regarding them as shameful and girlish, below the dignity of a boy and a schoolboy. He knew that his father and mother were separated by some quarrel, he knew that he had to remain with his father, and he tried to get used to that idea. He disliked seeing his uncle, so like his mother, for it called up those memories of which he was ashamed. He disliked it all the more as from some words he had caught as he waited at the study door, and still more from the faces of his father and uncle, he guessed that they must have been talking of his mother. And to avoid condemning the father with whom he lived and on whom he was dependent, and, above all, to avoid giving way to sentimentality, which he considered so degrading, Seriosha tried not to look at his uncle who had come to disturb his peace of mind, and not to think of what he recalled to him. But when Stepan Arkadyevitch, going out after him, saw him on the stairs, and calling to him, asked him how he spent his playtime at school, Seriosha talked more freely to him away from his father's presence. "We have a railway now," he said in answer to his uncle's question. "It's like this, do you see, two sit on a bench there, the passengers, and one stands up straight on the bench. And all are harnessed to it by their arms or by their belts, and they run through all the rooms, the doors are left open beforehand. Well, and it's pretty hard work being the conductor." "That's the one that stands?" Stepan Arkadyevitch inquired, smiling. "Yes, you want pluck for it, and cleverness too, especially when they stop all of a sudden, or someone falls down." "Yes, that must be a serious matter," said Stepan Arkadyevitch, watching with mournful interest the eager eyes, like his mother's, not childish now, no longer fully innocent. And though he had promised Alexey Alexandrovitch not to speak of Anna, he could not restrain himself. "Do you remember your mother?" he asked suddenly. "No, I don't," Seriosha said quickly. He blushed crimson, and his face clouded over. And his uncle could get nothing more out of him. His tutor found his pupil on the staircase half an hour later, and for a long while he could not make out whether he was ill-tempered or crying. "What is it? I expect you hurt yourself when you fell down?" said the tutor. "I told you it was a dangerous game." "And we shall have to speak to the director." "If I had hurt myself, nobody should have found it out, that's certain." "Well, what is it, then?" "Leave me alone." "If I remember, or if I don't remember? What business is it of his?" "Why should I remember?" Leave me in peace, he said, addressing not his tutor, but the whole world. Chapter 20. Stepan Arkadyevitch, as usual, did not waste his time in Petersburg. In Petersburg, besides business, his sister's divorce, and his coveted appointment, he wanted, as he always did, to freshen himself up, as he said, after the mustiness of Moscow. In spite of its _cafes Shantan _ and its omnibuses, Moscow was yet a stagnant bog. Stepan Arkadyevitch always felt it. After living for some time in Moscow, especially in close relations with his family, he was conscious of a depression of spirits. After being a long time in Moscow without a change, he reached a point when he positively began to be worrying himself over his wife's ill humor and reproaches, over his children's health and education, and the petty details of his official work. Even the fact of being in debt worried him. But he had only to go and stay a little while in Petersburg, in the circle there in which he moved, where people really lived instead of vegetating as in Moscow, and all such ideas vanished and melted away at once, like wax before the fire. His wife? Only that day he had been talking to Prince Chechensky. Prince Chechensky had a wife and family, grown-up pages in the corps, and he had another illegitimate family of children also. Though the first family was very nice too, Prince Chechensky felt happier in his second family, and he used to take his eldest son with him to his second family, and told Stepan Arkadyevitch that he thought it good for his son, enlarging his ideas. What would have been said to that in Moscow? His children? In Petersburg, children did not prevent their parents from enjoying life.